Hey guys, welcome to my Purple Brick Road. I'm Kelly, and today I want to talk to you about being an agile family and implementing Scrum in your household. So the first thing I want to do is give you a disclaimer, okay? If you are looking for that perfect organizational system, that perfect family philosophy that's going to get your kids to behave and everybody working together and everybody doing their chores all the time without complaining or arguing, without being told, you can stop looking. Not because Scrum is the answer, but because that doesn't exist. Come on, you guys. That is not reality. That is not life. And if anybody tells you that they have that, then you should probably consider running the other way, while screaming even. So what I am going to tell you about Scrum though is that we've implemented Scrum for almost a year in our family, and it really has changed things for the better for us. So what has it done for us? Implementing Scrum has definitely helped us pull together as a team. In our family, we like to say teamwork makes the dream work. So it's really helped our family of 6 to be able to pull together as a team for our common good. The other nice thing that I really like about Scrum is that everybody knows what needs to be done, what's already being worked on, what's already been finished. We all know what our goals are for the week, essentially. So if you have specific questions, or if you're just sort of wondering what is Scrum, I am going to point you to this book, okay? This is the heart of Scrum. So you need to definitely pick up this book. If anything I'm about to say about our Scrum Board sounds good to you, then you are going to want to pick up this book. It is Scrum, The Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time. It's by Jeff Sutherland. He's a co-creator of the Scrum methodology. So just to give you a teeny little bit of background, Scrum is something that is being used in manufacturing and software development and project management. It's being done in Sweden, I think. They're using Scrum, so they're doing it, and they're implementing Scrum in their classrooms. And I will show you guys in another video how we have adapted it even further to use it in our homeschool. So get the book, check it out. It's a really good book. It's a pretty quick read. And it's fairly, I don't know, maybe I'm a nerd, but I found it to be fairly interesting. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit today just about how we implement Scrum in our family, in our household, and how it has helped us to be more productive, to pull together as a team a lot more than we were before, and how it's helping us really just to get things done. So one of the things that you're going to see on the wall behind me, this is in my kitchen, right? So because the kitchen is really the heart of our household, I personally spend like 90% of my time in this room, and we walk by this wall about 1 million times a day. So we decided to go ahead and put it all right here. Right now you can only see my Scrum board, but I have a couple of other things up on the wall that I will show you later. So this is our Scrum board. It's really the kind of the meat and potatoes of our Scrum method, okay? So in a normal, sort of traditional, I guess, Scrum board, you would see that they have a column here called stories, and then there's the to-do, doing, done. There's a definition of done. Generally, as part of the same Scrum board, there's also the velocity and burndown. That's what those things are over there, and I will show you in just a minute how we do those. So we've adapted our Scrum board for our family. So we have our to-do list. We don't do individual stories because we have sort of one overarching story for us. The story is just basically, it's as a family or as a kind of person, the thing you want to do so that we can, and then it's kind of like the outcome that you would have. I guess you could say that we just have one sort of umbrella story that is, as a family, we want to grow our homestead, improve our homeschool, and just continue to improve our quality of life so that we can live long and prosper, right? So we don't have a stories column on here because we don't write individual stories for our individual projects. So we do our sprints, right, which you'll find in the book. A sprint is a set period of time between the beginning. Usually we do 1 week sprints. They can be 2 weeks, or they in manufacturing and in software production and design, they often run sprints that are a little bit longer. But for us, we just do 1 week. So for us, on Sunday evenings after supper, we have our family meeting, and that's where we decide what goes on our to-do column, okay? And then we, so I'll probably need to do a whole other video about what goes on in our family meetings, but that's when we review the previous week. We talk about our velocity and our burn down, which I'll get to in a minute, and then we identify what other things, what our next steps are, or what our next tasks are going to be for the week. So we have, just generally, we have our to-do column, okay? So we just had our family meeting this evening, which is why I'm filming at night underneath weird lights, so everything right now is on the to-do column, because we just, quite honestly, haven't had a chance to do anything yet. So then we have our doing column. So whenever we have, time in our day to work on something, we'll come over here and we will pick up, okay, here's a good example. I actually did already start this one. Our third quarter report cards for our homeschool, that's in my column. So we kind of organize them based on columns. So this is kind of my husband's projects that he's responsible for. We have things that the kids are responsible for, and then we have our tasks that I'm responsible for. In actual Scrum, they don't have that, but in a family, we definitely have defined roles where certain people need to do certain things. My husband's column this week is a little bit light because he has a really busy week at work. And then, so the kids and I are kind of getting through stuff this week. So I actually am already doing third quarter report cards because I did have a few minutes before the kids got ready for bed tonight where I started working on just pulling together all of their data for their report cards. So because I'm working on it, I've pulled it off of my to-do column and I've moved it over to doing, okay? So I know that I'm working on this. We do limit the number of tasks that end up on this doing column because ideally we want to get, ideally everything migrates from here over to here throughout the week by our family meeting on Sunday. So as we're working on things, we're going to be moving them over throughout the week. And then when it's done, here's another modification that we made. The kids are not allowed to move anything to the done column until my husband or I has inspected it, right? Because unfortunately, our kids' idea of done isn't always the same as our idea of done. So when I finish the report cards, I will take this and I'll just stick it over here on my done column. When the kids are finished with, let's say, we are doing some demolition on a brick pond right now in our backyard. So when they think they're done, they'll move it over to inspect. And then either they will come and tell me that they're ready for this job to be inspected, or I will say, oh, look, there's something in the inspect column. I'll see what it is. I'll go check it out. If it's done and it's done well, I will generally go and tell one of my boys, hey, you did a good job. You can move it over, because it's pretty satisfying to get something and stick it over in that done column. It's just like checking off something off your to-do list or marking lines through things that you've completed. And we definitely want them to be able to experience that little happy dance feeling. If it's not done completely or not done well, then I will take it, I will move it back over to doing, and then I will let them know that I did that. We'll have a short conversation about why it wasn't done, even though they thought it was, and what they need to do to make it a job well done and complete. Okay, so ideally, all of the tasks here migrate across the board over the course of our sprint or our week. I've also made another modification to the board. There are certain things that just need to be done on certain days every week. They're kind of weekly tasks. These are mostly for the boys, for the kids. So we have, Thursday is my boys' laundry day. My 9-year-old and my 14-year-old, I don't do anything really with their laundry anymore. They have, other than on Thursdays, I don't do anybody else's laundry. I stay out of their way. So their laundry day is Thursday. So for this one, these down here, generally speaking, they can move these little ones right over to done because they know when their laundry is completely done. I don't make a habit of, they're in charge of that. If they miss it, they end up with not having clean clothes to wear, and that's a bummer. They've both had that experience a couple of times, and we haven't had that in a while now. So, Fridays is the end of our school week. I want them to put all their school papers away in their binders where they go. Trash has to go out certain days of the week. For us, it's Wednesdays and Sundays. It has to go up to the curb. So that's another kind of modification that we've made, is just to make sure that we have certain things done on certain days. Another one that we're going to be adding, since we just got the chickens out of the living room and moved them out to their chicken house and their chicken run, is that on Saturdays it's going to be the day that we're going to add the litter to their to the run and kind of just tidy up the coop and the run a little bit. So that's going to need to go on Saturday. So now I want to say too, it's not always work things that go on the Scrum Board. Sometimes it's things off of our yearly bucket list. They're fun things that we want to do. This week happens to be the Holy Week, the week before Easter. So we have, they want to do an Easter garden craft that we have, that we've decided we want to do. Coloring Easter eggs is on here. So it's not all horrible, terrible chores and tasks. A lot of the time we do have at least one or two kind of more fun things on here. So it's not always that. So now each post-it, let me show you an example of one of our, okay, so removing bricks from the pond. So here's an example, I don't know if you can see that, of, it just says remove bricks from pond, and then there's a number here. So in Scrum, you give each task, excuse me, it's allergy season. So in Scrum, you give each task a numeric rating based on how much time and effort you think it's going to take. So some places, some teams have actual 15 minutes equals 1 point, or 30 minutes of work equals 1 point. We just kind of fly by the seat of our pants on that one. We don't have a specific time, equals certain points or a formula to figure that out. We just kind of look at the task and say, well, I knocked down a lot of bricks. We have a lot of bricks to be carried off out of the pond right now. So it got a 13, which for us is the highest score we use. The scale that we use is 1, 3, 5, 8, or 13. If you can figure that out, I'll send you a prize, how we got to that one. Oops, no, it goes down here. Okay, so all of them have certain number, they all have a number value. So pushing in the bricks is a 1 because it's really, the pond is already pretty well falling apart. It doesn't take a lot of time and it doesn't take a lot of effort. What else do we have? We don't have any real huge big ticket ones. We have to outline, we're adding a new garden this year, and so I need to outline it with bricks. That one got an 8 because it's going to be a little bit more time and a little bit more effort. So that is kind of how the Scrum Board works, okay? At our family meeting, everybody gets to sort of throw out things that need to be done. Obviously this week the kids said, we need to do an Easter craft and we need to dye our Easter eggs. So they obviously decided on those. I don't color code, really, honestly. I've got a bunch of mostly used Post-it pads right now, so I'm just kind of trying to use them up. Because I've got a lot of just little half-used ones or partly used ones. So we don't really color code the tasks, other than I do know that I ran out of these Post-its a couple of weeks ago. So that one's been up there for a while, and the Hubs probably needs to take care of that one. So it is kind of just a little mental reminder for me. far as how long something may have been sitting around up here. So that's the Scrum Board. That's really the meat and potatoes, or the heart and soul of the Scrum method. So let me go ahead and take you that way a little bit, and I will show you what we do with these numbers and how we track things like, just how we track how well we're doing with getting our things done. Okay guys, so remember how I told you that we assign each thing to have a point system or a point value. So these are the other two of the other components of our Scrum system, okay? So the way that we track the points, the reason that we give the points is because we want to know our burn down, okay? Which is how quickly we get through each thing during the week. So how quickly we're burning through all of those tasks that we put up over there. And then our velocity is, it tracks how well we do each week. So I have, starting from August 14th, which was not when we started. That's another thing, guys. If you want to implement something like this, I strongly suggest that you implement it in phases. The first thing that we did was just a basic Scrum board. I didn't have any of this stuff down here. I discovered later that it was going to work for us. It was just to do, doing, inspect, and done. And that was it. We didn't assign point values. We didn't track our percentages for several months because we wanted to try it out and get used to doing it and kind of see what modifications we needed to make to the system. Okay guys, so this is our burn down chart. And basically what I have done is we have our point values here on the side, and then we have our days of the week across the bottom. So what I do is I count up all of the points that were on those Post-its over there on the board, okay? Once we've decided, we try to cap ourselves at 60 points a week because that just seems to be the most the most reasonable number of points that we can get done in an average week where my husband is working and we're also doing homeschooling. So I usually put our point value at the bottom. I put our spot up here at the top, okay? And then I use, so for this one, in case you're wondering, this is just a piece of paper behind the glass of the picture frame. And I got like 6 years ago, I got these Glow Right. They're wet erase fluorescent markers. They're pretty colors. So they're supposed to be for those black marker boards, but again, they are Glow Right. They're a little bit pricey, but I mean, you guys, I've used the heck out of these things, and they're just now sort of running out of ink. So I basically turned this into a dry erase board, and since my kids love to come along and like put little designs through my regular dry erase things, I go ahead and use these wet erase ones because then they can't get to them. They can't really mess with it. So here's where we've started today. As of our meeting, we have 59 points, so I usually put a circle up here. So tomorrow evening, just to kind of show you, hopefully tomorrow evening we've, gotten a few things done. And I'm just going to graph it, right? In theory, you want your burn down chart to kind of do something like this, right? If you read in the Scrum book, that's what they're going to tell you they're looking for. But the Scrum book is written for people to use the Scrum methodology and to be getting through those tasks as part of their everyday job. So they're at work for 8 or 9 or 10 hours, and that's all they're working on, okay? In a homeschooling family, where we have lots of kids and we have therapists in and out of our house and we have homesteading things now to do, generally our burn down graph looks a little more like this. It's going to start here, and then it's probably going to go here, and then it's going to like camp out here for a couple of days, and then maybe it's going to go down, and usually, and I'm off to the side here so I'm not seeing fantastically, usually Saturday and Sunday we see a nice sharp downturn because that's when we finally get time to work on everything. So this is our velocity, and basically what I do is just every week I figure out what percentage of points we were able to complete across the week. So actually I have my backlog right here where I keep track of them. So let me just tell you that last week we had, hold on. Okay, so last week we had 53 points up on the board. We completed 24 of them, And so I didn't put it up yet. That's the one thing I didn't do yet. Our percentage was 45%. So we only finished 45% of our points last week. That's not fantastic. But that's what those family meetings are for, because when we are, hitting below our about 50 to 60% line, that's when we get to talk about like, okay, why didn't we get more done? Last week it just happened that we had a lot more rain than we originally had planned for on Sunday, that meeting, because where we live in the Midwest, and where we live, if you don't like the weather, you can wait 5 minutes and it will change. And I'm not even kidding you guys, where I live, we can have all 4 seasons in one day, and it's not that uncommon. So last week's, so you can see here in this spring season right now, we're kind of lagging. I'll be honest. We're still learning not to put too many things on our list. Okay, so what we really like to do is load up the board with like all of this stuff, and we truly believe that we're going to get it finished. And then, life happens. So we're kind of working on lowering some of that. I mean, we were way off the top of the chart the last several weeks on our burn down for, like, I was drawing the circle, that beginning circle, like way up here, like off the paper completely. So that's something that we know we need to be working on. But here we go. So, like this week, this time, I don't know, when was that? That was like September. We actually hit 100%. We hit pretty high percentages. Over here, these 3 weeks in a row where we were at pretty well flatlined at 0, we had a horrible respiratory creeping crud that went through our family. And not a lot got done because I had people sick every day, and nobody felt like doing anything, and everybody was feeling kind of awful, and the weather was bad, and it just wasn't a great couple of weeks for us, which is okay, because that happens, because life is messy and life happens, and that's all right. Okay, so that's how we kind of just track and see how we're doing, right? So clearly, once everybody was feeling better, we came back up into this range. Kind of seems to be our comfort zone right now, are between 40 and 60%. We need to adjust that. I'd like to see it closer to up here, our 80 or 90%. Okay, guys, so you've heard me talk a little bit about the backlog. This is our backlog. So the backlog is essentially just a giant list of everything that you want to accomplish, the projects, like the big overarching projects that you want to accomplish, okay? So not everything that ends up here comes from our backlog, okay? But we have tabbed ours out, and we've decided that, we need a tab for each room in our house and kind of each area. So we have, the living room and dining room, we have bathroom, we have our school room. And these are just kind of where we're looking at the things that need to happen. We live in a 60-year-old house that needs some attention, and it needs some updating. So that's where a lot of that comes from. And then we have a really thick tab for our homestead, for our outside, the yard, the gardens, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so what we ended up doing was we just literally sat down one weekend and just kind of said, okay, what is everything we kind of think we want to do? We wrote it all down. And then at the front, I keep, so then at the front of the binder, I keep a list of, I just kind of keep minutes. This is kind of just where I keep a section where it's minutes from our meetings. So generally, as we're meeting, I'm not writing on Post-its yet. I'm writing down, we just make a list of everything that we want to put on the board. We go back and I mark off the things that got done. We also have kind of a focus behavior of the week that we talk about, and I keep that in here. This is also where I keep our total points, the points we completed, the percentage that goes on the velocity chart. So this is what we call, so this is our backlog, right? This is kind of all of our all of our notes from our meetings and our things, but like there, you guys, there are some. The thing about the backlog is that, so we have like 500 years worth of things listed in this book to do. And some of them we'll change our minds on, some of them we'll decide, you know, like actually we originally put with the pond that we're now taking out, we originally had repair the pond. We attempted to repair it last year and it didn't work. So now it's just rip out the pond and build a whole something new. So things in the backlog can change. Sometimes I look at things and go, you know what, I actually don't want to change that. So then we just take it out. It's not a big deal. It's not written in stone. It's not, you know, scripture or anything like that. It totally can change as we need things to change. Okay? So, just to recap, this is not going to make your life perfect and make your family work together perfectly. Okay? But it will help you be more productive. It will help you pull together as a team. Something that we've seen that we didn't actually anticipate is that our kids are taking a lot more initiative. My boys, they know that this is kind of their column, and so they like to we kind of have a little bit of competition going on. They kind of like to race my husband and me to see like who can empty their column first. They also kind of like to peruse our other columns here to see what they can help with or what they might like to help with. You know, so they pay attention to this. They've taken a lot more initiative. I don't have to tell them to get out there and remove those bricks from the pond that we've knocked in already, because they know it's on here. So I don't feel like I'm nagging them. It's just kind of whenever I see them being slothful or lazy, if I see them, you know, kind of hanging around being idle, I'll say, you know, hey guys, go check the board and see what you can do. And yeah, you know what? They're kids, so sometimes I get the eye rolling or whatever, and you know, we deal with that. So is it going to eliminate that? No. But is it going to help? Yes, it will, probably. I don't know. I mean, I think my kids are pretty typical kids. So they're pretty excited when we get everything done. The other thing too is that sometimes when we get those higher percentages of things done, we will do something fun. We'll say, you know what, you guys, we had a great week last week. We hit 90% for Scrum accomplishment. You know, we're going to go eat ice cream, or we're going to go get snow cones, or we're going to like take one whole day off and just go out into the woods, which for us is a fun time. So this is Scrum. This is how we implement it in our family. We're always looking to, my husband and I are very into continuous improvement and just looking at how we can be constantly improving ourselves, our kids, our family as a whole. And this is the tool for us. Like I said, we've been actually doing it for almost a full year. And it's really made a huge difference in our family. I just wanted to share with you guys how we do it, so that if you are interested, you know, maybe some of these ideas will work for you. All right, guys, so thanks for visiting my Purple Brick Road. I'll see you later. God bless.